What's going on, everybody? It's Sasha, your market expert here in Charlotte, and welcome back for another Q&A. It is the first Thursday of the month. It is the first Thursday of November. So we're doing a Q&A on the first Thursday of every month in order to answer any and all your questions about Charlotte, its surrounding areas, the real estate market, whatever it is that you potentially have on your mind. So make sure you're subscribed and also go over to my Instagram channel, QC Home Group, which I will announce every single time I'm going on live, just as a reminder. And also follow me through some of the real estate that I have going on here in Charlotte. I don't know what happened, but as soon as I pulled in to the office, I got a phone call. The phone call wasn't so good. And then things literally just started kind of, it's not horrible, but things have just been going not as good as the rest of the day has been. And I have no idea what that's about. So I'm very happy that I am doing this live to take my mind off of a bunch of stuff and to be able to communicate with all of you and help answer any questions that you potentially might have. Now, do not forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and if you're going to be watching this live, please feel free to leave me a question, and or if it's not live, you guys can always call, text, or email me anytime. All my information is going to be right here on the screen, and it's also going to be linked right down there below. So feel free to ask any questions that you might have. I'm waiting on a potential offer acceptance to come through, but that was one of the bad phone calls that I was just telling you about. Everything seemed okay, and then a little something came up, so we'll end up seeing kind of what happens with that. But until then, until we get a couple more people on, I'm going to go ahead and read off some of the questions and comments about some of the other videos that I put up, and we'll kind of go from there. And like I said, feel free to drop any questions that you have, and I'd love to answer them. So I got JJ here that asked a question about my video where I topicked it delusional sellers, which is my monthly market report. And it says, curious your take on how this will affect new home builds. Do buyers in long-term contracts have any negotiation power with the builder if they agree to a price from a few months ago? So obviously this is in regards to new construction. Now, because you did put that contract forward a few months ago, those terms don't change. So, and I hate to say this, but obviously it's going to depend on the builder. There are a lot of good builders that are actually reasonable. So they see what's going on with the market. They see what's going on with the rates. They see what's going on with the prices. And if you ask them nicely, and if they were in a good position to do so, or you were talking to somebody that can actually help you out or make it happen, it is possible for them to kind of maybe give you a potential price decrease, maybe give you some more money in closing costs for you to buy down your rate or things like that, but they don't have an obligation to do so. If you signed a contract from a couple months ago with a new construction, you're in a contract. You know, all the terms that you agreed to before then are still here now. So nobody's required to do anything like that. So nobody's really required to give you a discount or to kind of do you any favors, unfortunately. But like I said, a lot of builders are good. And if you just went with them with your concern or potentially asking for a price decrease or maybe some more seller credits, I feel like a good amount of them might be able to work with you on that. And I hope that helps you a little bit more. Second question, Christy Dottie on the live Q&A I did last time asked the question, curious to know what percentage of your buyers are cash buyers and not impacted by mortgage interest rates. Enjoy all your videos. Thank you for that. So me personally, I have worked with cash buyers and I do work with cash buyers, but it's not often. I'd honestly say maybe 1 out of 10 people will be a cash buyer, and it won't even be fully cash. It'll just be somebody that potentially sold their home and took the net proceeds, and they're just going to be putting down a large down payment, which even if that is the case, the mortgage rates really aren't affecting those people either, because if they are mortgaging some of the purchase price, they're only mortgaging maybe 50, 100, 150,000, and that amount of mortgage isn't really gonna mess with your monthly payment, even in these kind of high interest rate times. One of the last ones I did, somebody actually put down $500,000 and the house was just under 700,000. So that's kind of what I'm seeing a lot of. A lot of people really don't buy just full out all cash. But then again, it depends on the price range. If the house they're looking at is between 300 to 400,000, it's a much higher possibility that it might be a cash buyer because they took the net proceeds of the house they sold and they just don't want to have a payment on a new house. But for the most part, it's somebody that's doing that and they're just putting a very large down payment, and that way they're only having to finance maybe 100,000 or so. So at that point, the interest rates don't really matter too much. On the delusional sellers video, Kaylee said, in my opinion, now the inflation rate is still higher than the interest rate. So for the buyers who have large amounts of cash, it's better to invest in real estate than seeing the cash worth less and less. Yes and no. That all kind of depends on kind of what you're looking for. But you're right. If you're trying to hedge against inflation, real estate is a good way to go. But right now we're just having a lot of changes happening in the market. So I would honestly say it's better to have cash than kind of going in and, buying real estate and all that stuff, because we're going to go through a lot of price fluctuations. People buy crypto, buy bonds, buy treasuries, buy whatever the case is. Your cash is losing so much value. It'll be safe here, but it's not safe in any of those assets right now. Everything is honestly so volatile. We have no idea where anything is going to go. Your safest probably bet is going to be, precious metals like gold, but they just kind of keep you at a certain level. I would rather have that money instead of buying gold or something like that, just having the cash and waiting for an opportunity to come up, whether that be real estate or whatever else it can be. There's a lot of stuff that you can kind of invest in and things like that. Ancient Scallion, hey Sasha, I hope you're doing great. So I'm currently thinking about buying a house in 2023. What do you think about USDA loans? I'm thinking about it. So USDA loans, if you've done any research on them, they're not available everywhere. Most of the time, the USDA loans are going to be in more rural areas that are outside of the city. So if you're looking to use a USDA loan and you're looking to live a little bit outside the city, a little bit more of a rural area, USDA loans are great. They do have some other requirements and things like that. So I suggest you talk with a lender. That way they can explain it to you a lot better than I can. I just know the very minimum basics. I personally haven't worked with USDA loans before. That's because a lot of people I work with tend to be in the city and or suburbs of the city. And, in the city and out in the suburbs, USDA loans really won't work. They only apply to a few select areas. And if you go on their website, they'll give you a map of what areas qualify for a USDA loan, which will help you a ton. Quessy, looking at buying a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath townhouse, and max I can save by 2023 is about 20K. Is this realistic? So yeah, I mean, if you're going to be putting down a 3% down payment, think about it. A 3% down payment for a $300,000 townhouse, you're looking at $9,000. And then you'll have closing costs and things like that. You're probably looking at, with down payment, closing costs, and all that stuff, you're probably looking at about 16 to 17,000. So yeah, it can work. Now, if the townhouse is in the $400,000+ range, then it might get a little tight with the 20,000. So how much are home prices around the Northeast Charlotte Concord area? So if you're looking at a townhouse, which it sounds like you are, townhouses and condos are always going to be less expensive than single family homes. But one thing you need to watch out for is the HOA fees. Some HOA fees can get very high. On the low end, HOA fees are $250 and under, but they can very easily get up to $300 plus, depending on the type of amenities that they have. So it honestly just depends, but you can definitely find a townhouse in Northeast Charlotte and Concord in that $300,000 price point, which based off your $20,000 that you have is kind of where you're going to be. You can probably even push it maybe up to $350, even $400, because as the market changes, we could potentially ask the sellers to pay for your closing costs, which in turn is going to leave more money in your pocket. So instead of having to pay, your closing costs, attorney fees, and all that stuff, you would only be responsible for potentially the 3% of down payment, which for a $300,000 house is $9,000, $400,000 house is $12,000. And yeah, if we can get the seller to pay for your closing costs and everything, that would be great. And you can up your price range if you really wanted to. But the way the prices, I think, are going to be coming down, I think you're going to be in a good position where some of these $400,000 townhomes might be in the low 300s, which obviously is good for you if you're going to be looking at buying in 2023. Ancient Scallion, another question. What's the difference in prices when it comes to buying an old house versus a brand new house? I've noticed that they don't differ that much. So that's a very good question. So most of the newer construction you'll notice is taking place on kind of the outskirts, which there's a lot of land that's being developed. So it's a little bit outside of the city for the most part. And you'll notice the houses that are resales, the houses that were built, in the last 20, 30, 40 plus years, a lot of those are already in very well established areas. That's why you honestly don't see much of a difference in the discrepancy. Because in some of those areas that are well established, essentially you can argue you might be getting a better location as far as being more centrally located than you are a new construction community that's out on the outskirts. But eventually that new construction community in the next 10, 15, 20 years will be very established as things spread out a little bit more. But it honestly just depends on kind of what you're looking for. I've worked with people that want something that's very charming, has a lot of character, that they can potentially renovate, that's already been renovated because they like specific neighborhoods, they like having certain conveniences. And then I've worked with people that only want new construction because they want to buy a house that everything is new. They don't want to have to worry about the roof, the major systems such as the AC unit, water heater. They don't want to have to worry about any of that stuff. They want to know that everything's new and they want to, be calm and not have to worry about anything for the next 10, 15, 20 years. So it just kind of depends. Me personally, I like new construction, but I more so lean towards already built homes. I love houses that are built in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and things like that, especially brick houses, mid-century modern, craftsman style, things like that. And we do have that as far as new construction goes, but in the areas that I personally like, those houses are, 800 to a million plus. So I'm not there yet, but hopefully we'll be in the next couple of years or so. So we'll see. Smile Y, is Raleigh developing faster than Charlotte? I don't know. I don't think so. They're both going through crazy amount of growth, but they're completely different in my opinion. Charlotte is the big city. Raleigh's a great city. My brother lived in Chapel Hill for a very long time, so I visited him a bunch of times and things like that. I like Raleigh, but it just depends on kind of your preference. I don't think it's developing faster than Charlotte, but it's definitely right there on its heels. And or if we looked into the numbers, it potentially could be. I just think because Charlotte's the major city, a much bigger city, international airport, a bunch of sports teams, I think our development is a little bit ahead of theirs at this time. Susanna Lee, I know home prices are coming down, but how about the neighborhoods with really good school districts such as Weddington, Marvin High School? Will the home prices go down in those areas as well? So really quick, other areas are going to depreciate faster than, not all areas are going to have the same, depreciation or prices going down and things like that. A lot of, like you mentioned, those areas where the good schools are, things like that, such as Weddington, Waxhaw, Wesley Chapel, Marvin, they're going to see slower depreciation. You're not going to see the big price drops like you might potentially be seeing right now, and or you will see in the next, 6 to 12 to 18 months. That's just because those areas are very much in demand. And from my personal experience, the people that I've worked with that are buying in those areas, obviously you're kind of financially better off. They're putting down 20+%. So, it's not something that they really kind of need to sell. Right now, I still think there's some areas that are priced accordingly to where they need to be. And there's also a lot of areas that I've seen that are just overly priced. they're just overly priced, and it doesn't make sense to me. And I think some of those areas might be in for a ruder awakening than something like a Marvin or Waxhaw would be. You know, you can't compare South Park to somewhere else that's kind of on the outskirts of Charlotte. The homes are different, and you know the values are going to be different. It's just you're not comparing apples to apples. In some areas, you're comparing apples to oranges. Susanna Lee, also, I don't see a lot of new construction in those areas either. Is it just me? So Susanna, in the areas you mentioned, Marvin, Weddington, and things like that, the new construction there is at a high price point. It's tough to find something. The last time I was looking at new construction there, it was easily over 700. I want to say in the $800,000 range. So as far as new construction, you can get something that's, has been built within the last 5 years, depending on exactly what you're looking for and the price point. But a lot of the new construction that's popping up now over there is priced like $800,000 plus. So, I'm not sure what price range you're kind of looking at, but that's maybe why you might not be seeing a lot of the new construction there. Wesley, I'm a new grad with almost 1 year work experience in my field. Only my 2022 tax return would show sufficient income above 100K. Do I go for FHA or conventional? So as far as I know, some lenders might be able to get you into conventional after a year and a half of income. Others will have to require 2 years of income to kind of get you pre-approved. And as far as FHA or conventional, it's just going to depend. Reach out to me when it's your time. I'll get you connected with a really good lender that's going to guide you in the best direction and let you know what's potentially going to be the best option for you. And they'll put the numbers kind of in front of you. If your credit score is above a 680, if you're in the 700s, I'd probably recommend conventional because you can potentially get a lower rate. And if you put down maybe more than 20% or something like that, you won't have PMI. As far as FHA loans go, the PMI never drops off. The private mortgage insurance never drops off on those loans. So like I said, when it's time, just let me get you connected with a lender and they'll be able to kind of show you almost line by line what the difference is between conventional and FHA, and then you'll figure out which one's better for you. Surprisingly, some people might go for an FHA loan versus a conventional just because of maybe some other different requirements that will help them out in the long term. And again, you can always refinance in the future if it's something about like a rate issue or something like that. Are Matthews and Indian Trail areas new homes getting more affordable the next year? I think a lot of stuff in the housing market is going to get more affordable in the next year, and that will include Matthews and Indian Trail. Indian Trail, I think, is going to get if let's say for example, if Matthews is getting a 15 or 10% decrease in prices, Indian Trail will get a 15, just because it's a little bit more slightly favorable area, for whatever the case is. But again, it's on a case by case basis. Some people prefer other areas for their own personal reasons. So you never know. It kind of just depends on the person, but yes, it'll get more affordable within the next year, I'm sure. Guys, feel free to ask any other questions. I appreciate it. Questy, you're very welcome. And if you have, some other questions about that, let me know. Like I said, I can get you connected with a lender and everything. But you'll definitely want to have at least a year and a half of income in order to get pre-qualified. I think FHA requires 2 years. So you might have to, lean more towards the conventional side. The rates increased yesterday. We're going to start feeling it in the mortgage rates here soon. It doesn't happen instantaneously, but I need to reach out to one of my lenders and just kind of get the actual scoop from them. I'm curious to see what's going to happen. But last thing I checked, I mean, if you're very good credit, you're looking in the 7.3 range or something like that. So it'll be interesting. Susanna Lee, some people say the mortgage rates go even higher than now, close to 10%. What's your thoughts on that? I think I mentioned this a couple months ago. I think the rates are going to hit, 8%, potentially even 9%. They could hit 10%. We'll see. I definitely think 8 is going to happen, potentially 9. 10 might be pushing it a little bit, But man, if we have these prices that we're having now in a 10% interest rate, I don't even want to see what the monthly payment's going to be. That would be that yeah, that would be a little scary. If that does happen, we'll uh we'll see. The sellers still right now just haven't picked up with where the market is. I'm seeing a lot of price decreases coming. So, you know, it's going to kick in very soon. These interest rates keep going up, nothing's stopping it. So prices, they've already been coming down, but they're going to come down even more. You'll see. If the interest rates go higher, then also the rent go higher. Just asking, is it likely? I don't think the rents will go higher. I think the rents will probably stabilize. I don't think the rents will come down. It's very funny. I see a lot of these little articles and stuff like that. Rents came down 1%. That's 1% is not a big drop if your monthly, rent is $2,000 a month. But I don't think rents will keep going up. I think they'll eventually have to stabilize. Just like the prices and everything, we can't just keep going up and keep going up and keep going up. At the end of the day, landlords and such like that, they want quality tenants. So I don't think the rent prices will go up. But again, I don't specialize in rentals. But that's just my personal opinion. I don't think they'll be going up. Everybody that's asking questions, I hope that you guys are all subscribed to the channel. I hope so, and I hope you're keeping up with it. The monthly market report is coming out next week, so I'm very excited to see every single month the numbers are starting to reflect a little bit more and a little bit more. So I'm excited to see how it happens. Average, how many people are moving to the Charlotte area per day or a month if you had the statistics? Last time I read, it was over 100. Last time I read, it was over 100 people moving to the Charlotte metro area. So it's not just Charlotte, that's all the surrounding suburbs and everything like that. So, it's probably slowed down a little bit since, after the pandemic, but honestly, I personally haven't felt it slow down. Everybody I'm still working with is relocating to the Charlotte area, and then obviously everybody that I've helped before, that's living now, that's looking to upgrade or something like that, and or sending me referrals. But I personally haven't noticed a difference, so I still think more than 100 people a day are moving to the Charlotte area. Do you have any idea about the timeline for Bank of America new buyers program? Do you advise we consider it? So I haven't looked into the Bank of America down payment program that they have, but from my past experience with those down payment assistance programs and things like that, guys, it's from my past experience, it is not free money. A lot of times what they do, they give you your mortgage loan that's for the house, and then they give you a secondary loan that is used to pay for your down payment. So instead of having one loan for your mortgage, you have two loans. You have the loan for the mortgage, and then you have the loan to pay back, for example, Bank of America for giving you the money to help with your down payment assistance. So it's, there's no such thing as free money or anything like that, especially from the bank. So you just kind of need to read the fine print. I haven't worked with anybody on that program, but I have worked with down payment program assistance, not in the last 2 or 3 years, but prior to that, 3+ years ago. And that is how everything was made. So it's not free money. It's most likely going to be a secondary loan that you're going to have to pay back. I'm glad they did the program because now a lot more stuff is negotiable. Before, sellers were looking at people's offers, and if you had down payment assistance, there's not a chance. If you had almost anything but a conventional loan and or putting down 10, 20%, if you had anything but that, sellers were rejecting it. But now, because a lot of stuff is a lot more negotiable, it's a lot more likely that they potentially, take an offer that, says that you're using a down payment assistance program. But again, I would check the fine print with the Bank of America program. With the keep increasing interest rate, how much decline do you think next year? So I've said this in a lot of my other stuff. I think we're going to see a 10 to 20% decline in prices kind of all across the board, but we'll see. There's not there. I mean, people have said 40, 50%. I don't think there's a chance in hell that's going to happen unless we have a crazy black swan event. I don't see that, but 10 to 20% definitely seems reasonable. But guys, you have to understand, at a certain point, if someone has to sell their house for like a crazy low, they're just not going to sell it. They're going to rent it out. They're going to make it work unless somebody's forced to sell. You know what I mean? So we'll see. But 10 to 20%, I think we're going to see within the next year. And obviously that's going to depend on the property itself. Is the property move-in ready? Is the property need a ton of work? You can get a 10% decrease right now on a house that's on the market that's been sitting for a long time and needs a ton of work. Um, I Before I hopped on this live, I was having a little bit of rough time because a whole bunch of stuff just started coming at me from nowhere, and I was actually going to submit an offer on a house, and I called the agent. He's like, "Hey, we just got an offer. We're actually going to get it signed." So sucks for me. I always tell my clients, don't get attached, and I'm a little bummed out about that because I was going to submit an offer on this property tomorrow actually, but unfortunately they already got something in the books that's already signed. So we'll see. And I mean, I was asking for a discount because the house needed some work. It needed a good amount of work. So obviously I was going to kind of, get my discount up front. I'm not going to pay. And I don't, unless it's something that's priced right, unless it's something that's priced correctly, do not pay the listed price right now. Just don't do it. Will Charlotte prices go down further than Raleigh market? That's a good question. I don't know, and I don't think so. I don't think so. Some of these prices at the height of everything that I saw in Raleigh was kind of crazy. It was kind of crazy. I always thought I don't pay attention to Raleigh too much. I know some agents over there, and we talk back and forth about how things were going. And a lot of people thought that Charlotte is a lot more expensive than Raleigh. But when you looked into the numbers, Raleigh was more expensive in some areas than Charlotte. I think Raleigh's going to get hit harder. I think Raleigh's going to have more of for example, if Charlotte has a 20% decrease next year, Raleigh's going to have a 25 plus, in my opinion, because I don't know what was going on over there, but some of the prices I saw and stuff was crazy. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Seems Charlotte is holding up compared to some other metro cities and areas. Yeah, if you're looking at some other areas, there's some places across the U.S. that are already getting hit pretty hard. I know this isn't in the U.S., but Canada right now, I heard, is getting hit. I have family in Canada, and I think they're going to take a hit. There was a stat that came out for Canada that said 64% of the money that a household was making was going towards their mortgage, which is insane. 64% of your household earnings was going to pay for your mortgage in Canada. So Canada's going to get hit, but again, people in Canada, depending on where you are, like I said, I have family there. It's very, very expensive. But yeah, some other cities are getting hit right now as we speak. And, that's why I don't like to compare the whole real estate market. That's just why I don't do it. Every city's different. Every neighborhood is different. Every side of the city, the west side to the east side, to the north to the west, they're all different, guys. So everybody's going to be impacted differently, some more than others. So we'll kind of see how all that unravels. But I do think Raleigh's going to get, a bigger price decline than Charlotte is. That's for sure. I'll be very curious to see what happens. So, market report for Charlotte and the metro area is coming out next week. So obviously make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you watch that. I'm very curious to see. I know for a fact the numbers are changing because we're looking at things going down because the past couple people and the people I'm working with now, we're negotiating on price, we're negotiating on closing costs, we're negotiating on repairs, just about everything, and like I said, unless the house is priced correctly, which some of them are. I've seen some actually really nice houses that are priced correctly, and kudos to those people. If something's priced correctly, obviously you need to talk to the realtor, have them comp it out and show you how or why it's priced correctly. Those houses will sell quickly and they'll sell for asking price. But for the houses that are sitting a couple weeks or something like that, negotiate. Just negotiate. Suzanne Lee, do you notice more buyers canceling their contracts this past month as rates are going up? Yes. Yes. More buyers are canceling contracts, and I'll tell you why. Due diligence fees used to be extremely high. Now they are normal and what they were 3+ years ago. So now if somebody puts down a due diligence fee of $3,000 and for some reason they feel uncomfortable about the housing, they feel uncomfortable about the interest rate, and or another house pops up that they like more, they're willing to lose that $3,000 non-refundable fee and just move on to something else, and or because they don't feel comfortable with it, they're okay with potentially losing out on it. Now, everybody's different and things like that, but yeah, more buyers are backing out of stuff. I think new construction is going to feel a hit, especially for people that locked in prices 6+ months ago. So, we're going to see a lot of that stuff. So it's just interesting, man. It's just so interesting what's happening right now. Questy, can you educate me on the pros and cons of fixed rates and adjustable rate mortgage? So this is very easy. Again, I'm not a lender. If you want more in depth, send me a text, send me an email, or something like that, and I'll get you connected to a lender that can explain all this stuff 100 times better than I can. In short, a fixed rate means your rate cannot change. If you get a 5% interest rate and X amount is your payment, that will not change for the life of the loan. The only thing that can change is your property taxes, which can cause your payment to go up. Adjustable rate mortgage. Now lenders are getting a lot more creative because of the high interest rates. So there's a ton of programs out there, but let's just go with the average adjustable rate mortgage, which you can lock it in for 5 years. So essentially, if you get a 5% interest rate, your interest rate will not change for 5 years. After the 5 years, your rate can change. It can go higher, but only to a certain extent. So what you're seeing a lot of people do right now is they're doing an adjustable rate mortgage and they're locking in a better interest rate. Instead of a 7%, they're locking in a 5% interest rate for 2 years with the hopes of being able to refinance into a fixed rate within the next year or so. Now, I hope you watched my other video where I was telling people do not rely on the external factors such as interest rate in order to be able to afford your monthly payment. If you get an adjustable rate that's 5 years, realistically, you're almost 99.9% gonna be able to refinance into a lower fixed rate in the next year or two, but just don't count on it. You just put yourself in a good position and don't count on that happening. VJ, what price per square foot is a reasonable price according to you? So I've gotten this question a lot from people. I get it. You have the real estate shows on there. Price per square foot. This is $125 a square foot. Why are you listing at, this? I want to pay this. Price per square foot is not the way to do things. The only time you'll essentially be able to do price per square foot is going to be, condo buildings and or potentially townhouses. Because that square footage, those floor plans are essentially exactly the same. And then the only discrepancy you can get is the upgrades that the place has. I do not use price per square foot for any single family home or anything like that because they are all different. No backyard space is the same. Is it a corner lot? Is it not a corner lot? You know what I mean? There's just so many different variables. Does this house have an unfinished basement? Does it not? So price per square foot, I'll be honest with you, my friend, forget about it. Do not use price per square foot. Even new construction houses, depending on the upgrades that they have, you can't use price per square foot. One kitchen did $40,000 worth of upgrades as opposed to the other one that did a completely basic kitchen that, costed $10,000. So you got to compare apples to apples. Unless you're looking at a condo and or a townhouse, do not look at price per square foot. It will save you much of a headache, okay? What's inventory look like now? Still low. Inventory, the last market report I did, inventory was 1.6 months of inventory. And right now, so the inventory is low, but the buyers are even lower. So essentially, we have more inventory for the people that are looking. So it's good. And inventory is going to stay low because right now we're in November. So holiday season, a lot of people are not going to list their house in November, December. They're going to be waiting until January, February, and then as we head into spring. And that, my friends, is when we're going to see the inventory spike, in my opinion, is going to be springtime, because I still think the buyers are going to be priced out, and that's where we're going to get the chance for inventory to build up. Right now, inventory, yes, based off the number, is still low, but the amount of buyers is even lower. So when you're looking at it, there's actually kind of more inventory in a way for somebody that's looking right now. Susanna Lee, Charlotte ranked one of the top 10 cities with biggest housing bubble. Why is that? What caused it? I'm not sure where they kind of, get that information and all of that stuff, but all I can say is look at our median price point. Look at our median price point and compare Charlotte to some other major cities. Guys, there are so many cities out there where the median price point is $600,000, which is absolutely absurd. I don't agree. I don't agree with that article at all. Charlotte, believe it or not, has been underpriced for so long. And finally, because of what happened, we've kind of gotten to where it should have been priced and a little bit over. That's why we're going to see some of those decreases coming. But I'm telling, a lot of this stuff is very funny to me because to me, it's almost irrelevant. If you work with me, I tell you, if you're buying something, hold on to it for a minimum of 5 years. If you're buying something to live in it for 1 to 2 to 3 years, don't do it. Do not do it. Minimum of 5 years. I am building my real estate portfolio and I don't really care too much about the prices. Like I told you guys, I was in a little bit of a rough mood before I went on this live call because I called an agent because I was planning on submitting an offer tomorrow on this property, and unfortunately they're getting everything signed. Obviously I was going to get below asking price because the property needed some work, but I was still a little bummed out. But I don't care because I know the property that I was looking at after I had put in $30,000 to $40,000 worth of work in 10 years, I know that property is going to be worth almost double. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter to me. I look at things long term. If you're not looking at owning a property for a minimum of 5 years, you shouldn't be buying something unless it's an investment and you're looking for cash flow, unless you're putting down 20%, unless the rent can cover the mortgage and things like that. But if you're an investor, you should already know kind of this stuff. But like I said, it's so funny to me because I talk about the market a lot just because I love the numbers and I love this type of stuff. But in the long term, I really don't care. Look at Charlotte prices 10 years ago. Look at them 10 years before that. Look at them 10 years before that. They're going to come down. And for the affordable housing, for the people that have been priced out of the market these last 2 years, because it has been absolutely ridiculous, this next year, 12 to 18 months is going to be your time to get something affordable, because we are going to go through another boom. It's not going to happen in the next 3-4 years, but it might happen the next 5 to 7 years. We might have another boom. I don't think it's going to be like this unless the rates go very low. I don't think it's going to happen like this again. But for all the people that were waiting for a time, this might be your last opportunity for what we have that's going to happen in the next 12 to 18 to 24 months to get something affordable. Because they're going to stay going up. They're going to come down, but we're going to surpass the highs of right now in the next 5 to 7 years. They're going to go even higher than that. So it's simple. It's simple. Look at any city in the entire United States. Look at the last 20 years, 30 years, 50, 100 years. That's why if you have a long-term mindset, if you're buying for the right reasons, you're gonna be fine. Don't panic. Don't panic. Smile. Wow, the weather mostly in affordability. Yeah, I mean, that's why I came here. The reason I came here, one of the main ones was the weather. Cleveland, Ohio is amazing. I love it. It is depressing. Very gloomy when I moved here, literally almost kind of night and day difference, guys. It's amazing. This city's awesome. S said, thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you again. For everybody on here, guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already. And please leave me some questions. Give me some questions. I'll be on here for another 15 to 20 minutes or so. Maybe I'll cut it short if there aren't enough questions, but go ahead, ask away. Anything about the real estate market, Charlotte, if you're interested in a potential neighborhood or anything like that, feel free to ask away. I'm here to help you guys in any way I can. And you guys know this, all my contact information is linked down below, so feel free to send me an email and we'll go from there. I still have not heard. I submitted an offer today. We've been negotiating for like 3 days from one of my clients. I still haven't heard back. We'll see what happens. But buyers out there right now, if you're in a very good position, especially if you're somebody that's like, hey, I don't have to move. I don't have like a crazy timeline where I have to be in somewhere. Take your time. The right one will come. And as I mentioned, make sure it's priced correctly. Negotiate, negotiate, negotiate. It is absolutely insane. Every single morning I look at our MLS and I just look at all the new houses coming up. I look at the price decreases. I just see what's happening. And there are so many houses that I see on a daily basis. And I just think to myself, wow, if this house would have been put on the market 8+ months ago, 10 months ago, it would have had multiple offers. It would have sold within the first couple of days. It would have sold for $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 over asking. And now they're sitting. I'm seeing them sitting now, which is just, for me, you have to understand, I looked at this stuff every single day. I got heartbroken every single day during this madness. But now seeing these houses sit, it's just crazy to me. It's absolutely insane to think about. It's absolutely insane to think about. And I can't imagine. I own a house. I never once thought about selling. It honestly didn't matter what the values go up to because I know what's going to happen in the next 10+ years here. So today's values are very minimal to what eventually will happen. S, I'm planning to buy a single family home when the market is right, but this year we even looked into country areas like China Grove, Mount Holly, still crazy expensive. Yeah, so if you watch that market report I did that was titled Delusional Sellers, it's still true. There's so many people out there that think that they can list their house for the price it potentially would have sold that 8+ months ago. It's done. It's over. It's not the case. It's not going to happen. That you can't expect to get the same price when buyers were able to get a 3 or 4% interest rate versus today over 7%. It's not going to happen. So unfortunately, real estate is slow. Everybody needs to pick up with the market. Sellers need to get realistic. Some of these agents need to get realistic, guys. I mean, it's crazy. I do not work with people that are unrealistic. I've talked to sellers. I've told them where they needed to be at price, and they're just like, nope, we want to price it 100,000 over. Bye. I'm here to get it sold for you. I'm not here to sit on the market for 1,000 days and, get lowballed, whatever the case is. So sellers, it's going to take them a couple months to realize the market is not when it was, and they just need to get over it, and they need to price accordingly. And some sellers are pricing accordingly, and those houses are selling faster than others. The delusional sellers, they're the ones sitting on the market for months and months and months, and let them. It's going to keep on sitting, and they're going to get lowballed, and potentially they'll kind of, get an offer, and that they'll kind of be forced to accept instead of pricing it accordingly in the beginning. Susan Lee, do you notice any layoffs in the Charlotte area yet? Any thoughts on job market in the Charlotte area or Triangle? I personally haven't noticed any layoffs. I know a lot of places are hiring, but to be honest with you, I'm in the real estate space, so I focus a lot of my attention, obviously, on the real estate and my clients and things like that. None of the people I've worked with have experienced layoffs or anything. I haven't read anything about massive layoffs. But if you look at the news, if you look at, articles and stuff that are being written, there are massive layoffs happening across the country with some of these big companies. So yes, people will get affected. It's only a matter of time, but I'm not an expert kind of in that area. I still see a couple of delusional investors bought for lower asking and put for sale. Yeah, there's a lot of quote unquote investors that do that. So I mean, you were able to make some money. You could have just bought a house in 2020 and then sold it a year later and made a profit and things like that. And those people call themselves investors. That's luck. That's just luck at that point. So a lot of people are going to get hurt. Those people that did that, they're going to get hurt, unfortunately, because they don't know what they're doing, and maybe they drank too much of the Kool-Aid. Oh, it's never going to slow down, anything like that. So we'll see. RJ Spain, please give an update on the Just for Rentals neighborhood that was being built. Just for Rentals now, or do they convert for sale properties? So RJ, what's up? I appreciate you sending that email to me last time we had spoken. Good to see you back on the channel. A lot of the places that were just for rent neighborhoods, from my understanding, they still are for rent. There's one in the Waxhaw area very close to Indian Land that I know of, and there's another one in Mint Hill right off the 485 exit that I remember were just for rent. The reason I remember it is because I went there when they were, building them, and I was asking them like, hey, sell it. I have a buyer that one. And they were just like, no, we're not selling it. Those two areas that I know of, they're not selling. So if you're a potential buyer, would you consider buying a house now or wait out? This is on a case by case thing. It really depends on you. One thing that I need everybody understand, that you should understand, there is always somebody buying and there is always somebody selling, and that will never stop. It just won't. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in. There's always somebody buying and there is always somebody selling. Now, this depends on your personal situation. As I mentioned, I was getting ready to submit an offer, and the phone call didn't go so well in regards to my offer. So for me, I can buy anytime. I'm in the market right now. If I see something, I'm looking for something that needs a little bit of work. I'm looking for something that needs anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000 worth of work, because I want a little bit of a discount. I want a discount, and I want to be able to put some money into it just to kind of make it my own, because I have a little bit of a vision what I want, the floors, my bathrooms, my kitchen to look like. Well, my wife does. So it just depends. And like I said, a lot of this stuff in regards to prices for me is irrelevant, because I'm building my real estate portfolio, and whatever I buy today, tomorrow, I'm going to keep until I die. Give it to my, God willing, if I have kids, give it to my kids one day. So it's kind of relevant to me. If I find a good deal, if I'm okay with my monthly payment, and I just want a little bit of a discount, because like I said, I'm putting some money into these houses. Whatever house that I buy, I'm going to put a little bit of money into it. So I just need a little bit of a discount up front, So it just depends on you. If you have the option to, if you can get something at a little bit of a discount, feel free to, go with it now if you're still thinking about price. Other than that, just wait it out a little bit. Give it a couple months. I will say there are opportunities now. I'm negotiating some stuff right now for clients, and it's very nice. Nice discount, closing costs paid for. So, that's all I'll say on that point. 14 people watching, only 4 likes. I don't know. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, guys. I really appreciate it. Some great questions we got so far. We always start very slow until, people get on here, and on it, very, very good questions so far. So I'll be uploading this probably next week is the real estate market report. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you watch that, because we're going to see some even better numbers heading in towards more of a neutral market. So it's going to be exciting. I'm a numbers guy. I know what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, and I know it's going to reflect kind of what we have coming up here on this next market report. Thank you guys for hitting that like button. I appreciate it. So we are creeping up at the 1 hour mark. Thank you guys all for watching. I really appreciate it. QC Home Group on Instagram. Go follow me on there. I'll follow back. Send me a message on there. All my contact information is linked down below. The first Thursday of every month, we are going live on YouTube at 6 p.m. Eastern. Look forward to chatting with you guys. I really appreciate it. If there's some questions that, if there's any other questions that I wasn't able to answer, or if you're potentially watching this in the future, guys, just all my contact information is down below. Send me an email or send me a text, or we can set up a time to talk on the phone. Other than that, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. I appreciate all you guys watching. I'll see you soon. Take care.